Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. About to connect with our friends over on Amazon so we can get into today's show. Have a returning guest that's joining us, but it's the first time she and I have had a conversation since he was here in my home state of Mississippi for the Guinness World Record accomplishment on Wednesday, October the 29th. So we're going to talk to her about that experience as well. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. Going to type you guys a welcome message over there. Glad you all could be with us on Amazon. You guys played a big part in our big victory on October the 29th. Make sure you guys hit that follow button either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the book by our next guest. We're excited to welcome author and speaker Kate Thurman back to our broadcast today. She's the author of this book you guys can see here, Beauty Beyond the Tears. We're going to highlight for you guys on the Amazon side. Oh, you guys can get the Kindle edition, I see, for $1.99 right now, so you can take advantage of that. Also, you can get the print edition as I have here. I want to talk to Kate not only about what it's been like for her to share her story, but also what she was able to do and when it comes to inspiring others as well. Kate, my friend, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me, Cyrus. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, excited. This is the first time we've seen each other since you were here in Mississippi. So I want
hmm
to talk about that. What was it like for you, Kate, to make your very first trip to Mississippi with your husband, Christopher Thurman, another author and media personality as well, and to be able to be in the room when we made history here?
Oh, it felt good. I was excited. I wasn't gonna miss it. Chris and I, we made it determined when we found out that we can come and be a part. It was a no brainer. So we were excited. I was so excited I couldn't hardly sleep because just knowing, first of all, you're Cyrus. You're a wonderful person, and you deserve that. And we wanted to be a part of it. It just felt good to be a part of it, and just to watch you in your element and doing what you do and what you love to do. Oh my God, it felt good.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, Kate. I was so glad you all came. You know, Kate will tell you, and I say this to everybody.
Mhm.
I try to release all the pressure and tell people, look, if you can't make it, I understand, because I know what a sacrifice it is, especially when people are traveling and having to make arrangements and all of that. So it was great to be able to have you here with us. But Kate, one of the things you were able to do, which ties into our show today, is to tell people about your book, Beauty Beyond the Tears. I want to talk about that because I think this is one of those books, and I said it to you from the very beginning, that this book is so powerful and it's going to be so impactful in the lives of others. What has it been like for you to see the way that people are responding to the message of the book?
It's been wonderful, knowing that first when people come up to me and let me know that the book is inspiring them, that means that I'm truly doing what I know I heard God and what God told me to do, and I'm inspiring people. I'm walking in my purpose. um I turn my pain into purpose, and it
Yeah,
feels good to know that through my pain I can help others.
right. And you're able to do that, and it's around a sensitive topic. So, for those who don't know, Kate, I'll just briefly mention one of the things you do is you share Chris and your miscarriage journey in this book. But I want people to know it's more than just that. So, yes, she talks about the pain, the loss. The sadness that can come from suffering a miscarriage, but you also talk about really, I think, on a broader sense, Kate, how all of us, no matter what challenge we go through, how we can be able to become firmer in our relationship with God, but
Mhm.
also relying on God's promises. So let's talk about that part because a lot of times when we go through anything that's devastating, especially when it comes to loss, and I'm not a parent, so I can't even imagine what it's like to lose a child. But what has it been like for you to be able to show, like Job was able to do, Kate,
Mhm.
how you've been able to use that pain, as you mentioned, for a purpose, but also inspire other people.
It's been wonderful because when I read Job, and sometimes when I bring Job up, I'm glad you brought that up. When
Mhm.
I bring Job up to people and I try to minister to people, and the first thing that they go to is double for your trouble. I hear that so much.
Mhm.
But for me, I want them to get the message of keeping the faith. No
Yeah.
matter what happened, Job kept his faith. And that's what I try to let people understand. What I was trying to do and convey is no matter what, I keep my faith.
Mhm.
And even at one point when I was like, okay, God, it's just not in the cards for us. Okay. So, we talk about several times. the one miscarriage, we was like, okay, we started a nonprofit, so we were meant to lose that baby for this. So as we needed to do this because I felt like if I had that baby, then I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing, and as far as the nonprofit that we have. So it was a lot of things, knowing that people understand what I was trying to convey is about losing my faith and my walk with God getting stronger. And it gets challenging even every day when people come up to me, and we have people that come up to me and say, "Oh, you this, you that. Oh, you think you're this." We still have people that does that, but for the people who believe in God, and for the people who walk with God, and for the people who spirit us down, I want to be able to uplift you and let you know that you keep your faith, and God promise is real. He stands on his promise. He watches over his word to perform. So what he said he's going to do, he's going to do.
Mm-hmm. Kate, I want to read something. As you were talking, I thought about something you wrote in chapter 8 of the book. The chapter is When Hope Meets Heartbreak. And you say this in the book: "We knew, despite our emotions, despite the pain, that God's promises over our lives were still yes and amen. The loss hurt us deeply, but it also drew us deeper into each other and into our faith. We grieved together, held each other through the darkest nights, and declared together that our story wasn't over. We still believed and still believe that beauty will rise from the ashes." I want to talk about your relationship and how that has helped, because I think a lot of times, and that's why when Chris and I have talked about this in the past, Kate, as you know, a lot of times we do focus, rightly so, on the mother, right? Because it is the mother, it's the woman who is carrying the child. But what was it like for you to have Chris there with you to go through this with you?
It was it was an up and down journey. Why do I say it was an up and down journey? Because I had to realize that it wasn't just about me or my feelings, it was my body. But that was also, those were his kids, because it wasn't just one miscarriage, it was several. Those were his kids. And a lot of people don't know the story, but we dated over 27 years ago, and we
Mhm.
had a miscarriage back then as well. And so when we got back together, we got on this journey. And I remember, um when Chris and I talked, I remember saying at one point to him, we just got to keep the faith, and let's just keep praying. And to have him go through it, and not only to understand that it's not just about me, he has feelings too. Even when we had the last miscarriage, I remember turning to him, even though my daughter was sitting there saying, "Mommy, don't cry," while she's wiping my eyes, and he's on the other side. I want to get out the car and go in the house. And I turned to him and I said, "I don't want to try this again." And I looked at his face, and he said, "Okay." But I looked at his face and I knew that that's not where his heart was. And I had to understand that he's also hurting just as much as I am. And to take away what we've already been talking about, which is we're praying, we're fasting, we're believing God. I understood in that moment that we're stronger together, and I can't lose faith, because he always says, as long as I'm happy, he's happy. So he tries to be strong for me, but at the same time, I knew that I needed to be strong for him because he lost kids too.
Right. And I think, again, that's why this story is so powerful, and your story is so powerful. I want to share something else that you wrote in the book, because I think it is, for a lot of people, this is what we have to be careful about on the outside. Again, as I mentioned, as someone who doesn't have any children, never experienced anything what Chris and you have, Kate, it would be wrong of me trying to tell you how you should hurry your process of healing and moving forward. But you say in the chapter of the book, let's see what chapter this is, because I want to share this for our audience for you guys to make a note. In chapter 4, when grief births purpose, you say this: "It was difficult attempting to establish a new normal, one that didn't include daily interactions with being that had added so much meaning to our lives. We struggled to adapt to our changing roles, and despite the pain that this loss brought, by God's grace, we managed to survive it. We made the necessary adjustments, and soon our house of 4 quickly adapted and became the house of 7." And there you were talking about going through a transition. I want to talk about, though, the process, because the process is different, Kate, for everyone with everything, right? We
Mhm.
all learn differently. We handle situations differently. How important was it for you to give yourself and give Chris grace in how you all chose to grieve individually? And what do you hope people understand about that when they think about the things they say to individuals like yourself who are going through a loss?
uh, sometimes when people haven't been through miscarriages or loss, in that chapter, we had a house fire. I lost my sister. So, and I had gained her three kids. So we got seven.
Hmm.
And I had to realize that even through that loss of losing my sister, I gained three angels, but I was still confused. And when Chris and I sit down and we talk about, okay, we can do this, and then you have people coming in. I've had people tell me, oh, your sister, my sister kids doesn't matter because they're not blood related, to Chris, or so they're not real grandkids to his parents. I've had that. I've had people tell me that we need to hurry up and grieve, or the baby didn't matter because the baby wasn't born, the baby didn't live on the earth. So when people say things like that and not understanding that you're not allowing us to grieve because you haven't been there, I would say to people, because I had to say it to myself, um, I'm going to pray for you because you need prayer. Because if you haven't been through something, you know how the older people would say to us when, when you're young, and they say, live on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I would take that approach to it, because just because you haven't been through that, you've been through something. And
right,
grief is grief, and we choose to grieve the way we choose to grieve. Chris and I and all of our kids are still a family, but
right.
we want our kid together, and you can't take that away from us. You can't make us feel like we're any less of a family than anyone else,
Hmm. Yeah,
because that's not true.
right, right.
God is going to honor what we're doing with raising those other three kids. He's going to honor Chris and what he's doing, and he's taking in kids that's not even his biological kids, but he loves those kids like they're their kids. But he
Hmm.
also wants one of his own, and no one has a right to take that away from him or me.
Yeah, so true. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm excited to welcome back Kate Thurman to our broadcast. Kate is an author, she's a speaker, she's also a media personality as well. If you guys are watching us live, you'll see her a little bit later as part of another show here on Amazon, Cyrus Webb and Friends, and we're welcoming the one and only Shell Purcell here later on today. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Right now that we're talking about Kate's book, Beauty Beyond the Tears, and we're talking about the journey of sharing. I want to widen the conversation out a little bit, Kate, and talk about your platform, because your platform is really interesting because you are not only an author, as I mentioned, a speaker, you have your own platform. What has it been like for you to show people what's possible in spite of their challenges by building what you've been able to build?
I mentioned earlier about the nonprofit, but that's not the only thing. God has allowed us to be able to have these platforms, and we thank you, Cyrus. But we have these platforms to help others. We help in so many different ways. We have this show, if Graceful Gatherings with the Thurmans, where
Hmm.
if you have a show or a product or something and you want to showcase it, we try to make sure that we have a way for you to come on a platform and talk about your story or whatever it is that you have that you want to promote. Or if you have a story, and being able, in the Kate Thurman show, where we want you to come on and talk about your real life situations, is real talk with Kate Thurman. You
Yeah.
know, so to be able to have those platforms, to be able to do the things that we do with you, just everything that God has blessed us with, in spite of the situations, our personal life, we still are out in the front line, still trying to give back, still trying to help others. It's been a wonderful journey. Through the pain, it's still been a wonderful journey.
Yeah. Kate, and I want to commend Kate, Chris, and you, because I think what else is so interesting is that it's very easy when something happens to us. I went through it after my loss of my grandmother, who I was the primary caregiver for over a decade,
Mhm.
and I I wondered who I was outside of her afterwards, because I cooked her 3 meals a day and gave her insulin shots and took her to dialysis 3 times a week, and so my whole life it kind of become, even though I was still having my show,
Mhm.
my whole life was kind of wrapped around hers, which I loved. It was an honor
Mhm.
for me. What has it been like for you to show people that you can be able to thrive even in spite of the challenges, Kate, that you go through.
It's sometimes I sit back and I'm like, wow, that's little me. I'm from Demopolis, Alabama. It's a small town.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
So it's like that's little old me. Um, and sometimes I will get a call from people, especially people that have known me before, even when from a little girl up. Some people have known me from my teenage years, and they say, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I had someone call and she was just like, to see what you've turned out to be,
Wow.
just knowing that your heart. You've always had a pure heart, but you're still, no matter what you're going through. Just a few months ago, you had your last miscarriage, and you're still on the front line. You still minister to people. It feels good to be able to be that person, to be that perfect person to walk with Christ and to help others develop and determine who they are and help them through their grief, help them realize what's the next level, but help them get to Christ. The main goal is making sure that you understand that you are loved and there's purpose in you. So when people come to me and we're able to do this, when they come to Chris, just us both or individual, it doesn't matter. Just knowing that it feels good to know that again, it's our purpose. We feel like when God brought us back together, He brought us back together for a purpose. I one time I told him, I said He brought us back together for such a time as this, and he was so I said, but it is like He did.
Yeah. And for you all to be able to go through this together. And I have talked about, Kate, what I see your platform growing into. What is your hope as people are able to get your book, Beauty Beyond the Tears, able to learn about your story? What do you hope you're able to do with your platform moving forward?
Moving forward, I want to be able to help women and men, if that's what Chris comes in, because it's not just about women.
Right.
Men lose babies too.
Yeah.
So being able to have our story, because it's not just my story, have our story and to help people get through it. We want to help you get through it. We want you to know how we got through it. We want you to know, and we want you to see our story unfold when you see that promise comes, because that promise is near. And when you see, we want you to be able to know that, because sometimes when people see what they see, you went through the pain, but they also need to see the joy on the other side as well. So when you see that, we want to be able to have our platform for people to see the whole picture, for people to know that it's real, it's true, God's promise is true, and you and I know that it's needed, because a lot of times people don't see miscarriages as something that's widely known, or they don't value it as a person whose child lived on this earth and passed away. To me, it's the same thing. And I want everyone to know that miscarriages matter. So let's put a platform here so people know that they have a place to go, because a lot of people don't feel like they have a place to go when they have miscarriages. It's swept under the rug, and we want to bring it to the forefront.
Right. Chris is joining us on Facebook. Katie says it's almost as if loss has its own language that we have to learn in order to understand and live with it. That's a great comment, Chris. Thank you so much for that. Chanel's watching also on Facebook. She says, "Amen." It's great watching you, and Kate. And Kate, I don't know if our audience caught what you just said, so I want to just say it again. Kate released this book this year, Beauty Beyond the Tears, talking about her miscarriage journey. Kate actually just had a miscarriage this year, and she still was able to release this book and share the story. Kate, why was that important for you? Hey, Dr. Van, I'm good to see you over there on Facebook. Why was it important for you, even as you were still grieving this year? Why was it important for you to make sure that you put out this book this year?
It was important because when I heard the whisper, the still small voice say, write the book. I told you, I was like,
Mhm.
Cyrus, I'm writing this book. I written a book, but it just wasn't for to be released. And you
Right.
was waiting and waiting. And I said, okay, this one is done. But it was important because I knew that there is absolutely no way that I can go through this and continue to go through this
Mhm.
and not share my story to help someone. I'm constantly having miscarriages. And I feel like it was swept under the rug. And personally, when you're going through things and then you have people in your ear that's trying to make you feel like it doesn't matter, or the grandparents wouldn't care about it, because and it was important for me to put it out there and let people know that your kids is this, your kid mattered just like mine did. It's important for me to have everybody understand that through your grief, there is purpose in that miscarriage, though it may hurt. Though
Yeah.
we will have those sleepless nights, and those crying nights, and those why nights, and why. Though you may have, I had a whole slew of support from you and everyone else, my family, but there are people out there that don't have that amount of support. So it was important for everyone to understand and know that I am here,
Mhm.
because you're not the only one that went through it. I go through it. I've been through it and still going through it.
Yeah.
And we can come together. And it was important for this book to touch those people who don't have that support.
Yeah, such a great thing. And now it's out for the world. Dr. Bellman says it's powerful, proud of what she's accomplished. I am as well, Dr. Bellman. And Kate, let me say again, thank you so much for making your first trip to Mississippi to be a part of our Guinness World Record attempt in October. It really means a lot to have you part of that.
Thank
And I want to say, too, thank you for writing this book, because even though I have not gone through this particular experience, I can tell by the way it's written, it's going to help people not only who have dealt with their own miscarriage journey, Kate, but also people who just have questioned why. Why has this happened? Why am I going through this? And
you.
helping them to understand that it's okay to ask the questions, but also how you've been able to use that, as you mentioned, to tame your pain of the purpose and help other people as well. Again, everyone, Kate Thurman is our guest. Beauty Beyond the Tears is the book. You can get it in print or the Kindle edition, as I mentioned, for only $1.99. Kate, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
On Facebook, Kate Thurman. And if anyone wants to connect with Chris, because again, this is not just about me. Christopher Thurman. Angelica Bless is our nonprofit. If you want to connect with us that way, it's Angelica Bless 0811 at gmail.com. LinkedIn is Kate Thurman, Chris Thurman. And our phone number is 770-765-6641.
All right. Hello to you, Selena. Good to see you. Selena says
Excellent.
excited for you. Kate,
Thank you.
thank you again for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you.
And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.